Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharyamadhyamam Asmadacharyaparyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Manushyatvam. What else? Mumukshutvam. Very good. Manushyatvam. Having a human body, which appears to be a happy accident if one has found Vedanta, the teachings, or an unhappy accident if one has not. This is Manushyatvam. Then Mumukshutvam, the minting of the seeker, a seeker who has turned inward to seek oneself. That is partly in one's hands and partly not, because also it depends on the circumstances of the birth, the parentage, the freedom to think, to be able to make this inner change, all these things. It depends on so many things. So in that way it's not in one's hands. In another way it is in one's hands, because it depends on one's Viveka, which is the last word of the text that we are about to enter. Viveka, discriminative wisdom. A wisdom that is born of discrimination is called Viveka. So what is this Viveka? That doing the same things over and over again with the repeatedly wrong results is not helping me. So obviously there is a mismatch between the methods and the goal. This is Viveka. Between the methods and the goal, there is a terrible mismatch. I'm trying to use worn out tools in order to craft something that is not succeeding at all. This is Viveka. So the combination of this discriminative wisdom coupled with certain circumstances that are conducive for me lead me to be a mumukshu, to have mumukshutvam, to dare to question, to dare to turn to the source, to dare to just say, okay, regardless of all the people who are supposedly role models in society, they will, regardless of all of them, I have my own path and my truth to follow. One who is not merely satisfied being a follower, but instead doesn't aim to be a leader, but instead aims to follow that truth which is undeniably broadcasting itself in the form of a longing to no longer be longing, in the form of a longing to belong, in a form of the longing for a certain abstract idea of a oneness that seems so elusive to get. These are the first two M's that bring one on this path Then the third M is in Sanskrit is called mahapurusha samshraya. Samshraya, refuge. Mahapurusha literally means great person. But what is meant by the great person? Just now I was following a great person. Who was this great person? Maybe it was somebody, some celebrity. That's why even in this social media it's called following. So one follows on, what is that? Book of the face, Facebook. And one follows on that, what is that, blue bird? No, not Twitter, yeah. There's a little blue bird there. One follows on that Instagram also. And then depending on the number of followers, how successful you are, right? Yeah. So great people are everywhere. One can say, everybody is a mahapurusha who has so many following on Twitter, so much following on Facebook and all these social media sites. But those are not the mahapurushas that are talked about here in this context. And you know why? Because we have already been there and done that. We have followed those mahapurushas to our maha-detriment. So, so that is not what is talked about here. To great detriment, we have followed these ways, we have followed these, been there and done that. And we have been enamored by what's that? Some kind of charismatic people, starting with narcissistic dictators, so many things. That's what the whole history shows us this, shows us the perils of this kind of a thing. So that's not what is meant by Mahapurusha. This is another kind of Mahapurusha who does not seek to advertise, who does not seek to the limelight, who is simply who is going against every grain of what is taught and internalized in society, and who is extremely content, present and non-judgmental, and because of these reasons is able to lead others. This is the Mahapurusha that we are talking about, the Guru of self-knowledge. The word Guru is loosely used these days. We have dance Guru, cha-cha-cha, and then music Guru, stock market Guru, who insists on being called Guru, okay? And there is also one life Guru, life coach, calls themselves Guru. But even though the word is strictly used, loosely used, in the tradition, the meaning of the word, the word refers to Brahmavidya Deshikaha. The one who teaches, unfolds the knowledge of the self is called Guru, as is evidenced in the mantra we chanted in the morning. Gukaraha, the word Gu, because there are two syllables, Gu, and what's the other one? Ru. So, Gukaraha, Andhakaraha Vai. So, the word Gu stands for the ignorance, which is like an eclipse of one's own light. That's why it is compared to darkness. One's own light is eclipsed by so many wants, wrong priorities, misidentifications, etc., etc. So, Gukaraha, Andhakaraha Vai. Vai means indeed. Or you can take Vai as why. Why indeed do I have this? Same, doesn't make much of a difference. Then the syllable Ru, tat nivartakaha, that which removes this eclipse. by waking the person up from the slumber of self-ignorance, which very quickly morphs into a nightmare of misidentification. So not knowing oneself is one thing. Therefore, taking oneself to be something other than what one is another. It compounds the problem. So that which wakes one up, that agent of knowledge, is called Ru. Andhakara nirodhitvat. Because the Guru removes this ignorance, which is likened to an eclipse, Guruhu iti abhidhiyate. That is why the epithet Guru is given to that person. Now here itself, one can start understandably having an allergic reaction. First of all, why do I need somebody in order to see this? Why the third M? Third M is never necessary. Even in the candy, it's only M and M. It is not M and M and M. Only two M's are fine. Up till now, I was with you. M, first M, Manushyatvam. Okay, human, I need to be a human being for this knowledge. Okay, that was fine. And then what's the second M? I need mumukshutvam. I need to be a seeker of myself. Okay, that's fine. But where did this third entity come in? Why do I need a guru, teacher? Why do I have to have a teacher? Books are all over the place. Here also there is a translation of the texts and everything that we are studying. And then why we have to have this? No reason to have this at all. And so this is exactly that the lost one talking. And who is the lost one? The lost one is the controlling one that we have talked about a lot in the last class. The controlling one, the ahankara, identified jiva, the individual identified with the I notion, that wants to control its circumstances, its surroundings, etc., etc., also is wanting to control how the knowledge is disseminated, how the knowledge is internalized, how the knowledge is expressed, etc., etc. And that controlling one says, I know how to read. I know. In fact, that controlling one keeps on saying, I know, I know, I know. I know how to read. I know how to say Upanishad. I know how to say Bhagavad Gita. And why do I need somebody to explain it? Well, if I am intelligent, I should be able to figure it out by myself. So the controlling one has a DIY attitude. What is DIY? There is no DIY Vedanta, okay? If there is a book, you go to a bookshop and there is a book, DIY Vedanta, don't buy it. It'll be useless. So this is the hallmark of the controlling one is the DIY attitude, the one that is endowed with this attitude of I am exactly this, and I am in charge. I am in charge of my own education. What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that, except it's not applicable here. Why? Because if you say, I am in the charge of producing some knowledge or assimilating some knowledge of anatma, not I, then there is some valid point there. You can read, you can do some things on your own, you can figure it out without instruction. You can put something together and feel good about it. All that is possible because here we are dealing with not I. That is what it is. But where the I is concerned, we have a contradiction. In Sanskrit, it's called kartru karma virodha, where the subject and object is one and the same. Who is the subject? The knower, I. Who is the known? I. The knower needs to be known. So what's wrong with that? And small glitch. What is the glitch? The knower already has some ideas about what they are, which are completely in contradiction to that free, loving, compassionate, complete, full self that one wants to be. This is what it is. And so, this is exactly the problem. The problem is this kind of a contradiction. Because I want to know myself, and I'm ready to know myself, but then I have certain ideas about who I am already. And those ideas come in the way of understanding, who I really am. In the eyes of the Upanishad. And the vision of the Upanishad is what I really want to see. What I really like myself to be. The Upanishad, therefore, becomes a mirror. So that I can see myself. The Upanishad becomes a mirror. It's a magic mirror. It's a mirror when the teacher shows it. Otherwise, it is not reflecting anything. It is just a heap of words. That's all it is. So therefore, that which makes the Upanishad talk is what is called the Guru. How does it make the Upanishad talk? Make the Upanishad talk means what? Well, it has to be unfolded exactly how the Guru understood it. Therefore, frequently when the student goes to the teacher and says, "Please teach me," then the Guru doesn't say, the student doesn't say, "Teach me," particularly. The student says, "Madartham smara." Please remember how you were and how you internalized this knowledge when you were in my situation. From your Guru, who got this knowledge from your Guru, who got this knowledge from his Guru, her Guru, his Guru, her Guru, which goes back all the way to Bhagavan, to Ishvara, from which everything comes. And so, we are talking of a knowledge that is not centered on a person. Or rather, I should say, we are talking about a knowledge that is not centered on a personality. Not centered on a personality. That's why it's not a cult. So the Guru is not some kind of a charismatic figure that wants to enthrall, that wants to have followers, that's not what we call the Guru. Guru is the one who is disseminating the knowledge for no reason other than a sense of compassion so that everybody benefits from this. This is the mahapurusha that is there in this verse. This is what is called the mahapurusha. And later on, this mahapurusha is going to be described in the Viveka Chudamani, a very beautiful way. Shanto danto nivasanti santaha. These saintly people are there, somewhere, here, there, everywhere. You have to look for them. Because they don't advertise themselves. And then, Vasantavalloka hitancharantaha. What do? Just like the spring That's why it's called spring, because it springs forth. The whole nature is a riot of colors. Everything blooms. The cherry blossoms come without being paid. The pear blossoms come without writing in their blog, "Here I come." They just do it for the sake, just because. So just like the spring, the Guru blossoms, blooms, and the Guru's words are like fragrant blossoms whose message reaches far and wide. Vasantavat lokahitam charantaha. Lokahitam means for the benefit of the people alone, such mahapurushas work. Because they have nothing to gain from teaching. They teach so that others can benefit. They don't need a following, they don't need some kind of a convincing, they don't need any kind of fame, money, whatever it is, progeny, etc. So just like the spring, without reason, it just springs forth and delights the hearts of the people. So too these Mahapurushas, they, through their fragrant words, delight the hearts of the masses or whoever chooses to come to them. Tirna Swayam. They themselves have crossed. What have they crossed? Bhima Bhavarnamam. This fearful ocean of samsara. Bhavarnavam, ocean of samsara, and then Bhima means fierce. Having crossed over this fierce ocean of samsara, ahetuna anyanapi tarayantaha. Without any reason, without gaining something in return, they help other people cross as well. They help other people who are crossed by samsara to cross the ocean of samsara. This is the Mahapurusha of the Viveka Chudamani. And this is what we have been talking about. This is what it takes to go from a controlling creature, a creature that wants to manipulate everything around them all the time, to one that is non-demanding, appreciative, contented. A person, that is what is called a person of self-knowledge. So you see, this is a different Mahapurusha than the ones that are generally looked up to in society. Whereas the other Mahapurusha wants to be looked up to, here the person doesn't care. And here, this Mahapurusha is available only to the ones who want this knowledge. The centrality of the teacher is emphasized because really the knowledge being in the form of words that have to be conveyed, otherwise it's just not possible to understand. That's one reason. The second reason is that the knowledge is in the form of that which is a pair of eyes to see. Just like it is in the form of what we call pramana. So it is in the form of a pair of eyes. Okay? Because with the kind of tools of control that I wield, I cannot understand the truth of myself. What are the tools of control? Called pramanani, also means of knowledge. What are these tools? The first we have the 5 organs of perception. What else? The eyes, ears, etc. 5 sense organs. And then, then we have inference. And in Sanskrit we make a slight difference between inference, one-step inference, and multi-step inference. One-step inference is a simple inference. You look out the stock example, you look out the window and the roads are all wet. What do you infer? It rained. Did you see the rain? No. That's why it's called inference. You inferred. And then you look on top of a mountain, there is smoke. What do you infer? Fire. So, this is one-step inference. Then we have multi-step inferences. The one-step inference is called anumana. The multi-step inferences is called arthapatti. So, what is this multi-step inference? This is there all the time in medicine, the field of medicine. If it works on a rat, it should work on the human being. Multi-step inference, because it's not arrived at so easily. You have to do some controlled studies and you have to make all this happen. So this is a multi-step inference. Another stock example, Devadatta. What does Devadatta do? Devadatta does not eat during the day. Oh, he's watched all day long. Does not eat at all. And then after a few weeks, he's put on the scale. And his weight has not scaled back. That's why it's called scale. Yeah. The weight is the same. What do you infer? He must have eaten in the night. So here we have multi-step. One is one piece of information, he doesn't eat during the day. Another piece also we need, that his weight has not changed at all. So then that means what? He must be eating at some other time when he's not watched, i.e. at night. So this is also a means of knowledge. Like this we lead our lives. With the help of the 5 sense organs, what we know, and then with the 2 kinds of inference. And then there are 2 other kinds of ways of knowing, 2 kinds of knowing. And the next one is called comparison, upama. Not to be confused with something they give for breakfast called upma, okay? This is upama, simile, comparison. So if you know something, somebody has never seen a zebra, you can say it's a donkey with black and white stripes. Okay, donkey I know, stripes I know, but zebra now, if I see the zebra, I'll immediately recognize it. Oh, this must be what is called zebra. Okay? Or you say it's just like the crossing on the road. That's why it's called zebra crossing. So this is called simile, comparison. This is also a way of knowing, a kind of a knowing. And then we have also something else. The cognition of absence. How do I cognize absence? So, is there a pot in the palm of my hand? Why not? Yes, but how do you say it's not there? Yeah. And I just see this hand, and I know what pot is, I know what hand is. I see hand without pot. This is what it is, this is the cognition of absence. The cognition of absence, this particular means of knowledge, is always relative, never absolute. You can't use this to conclude, okay, the truth of the world is zero. There's a big problem with that. Because who is saying it is zero? Me. Who are you? You know, me, so-and-so, son of so-and-so, daughter of so-and-so, with this much height, this much name, this occupation, this me. Do you exist or not? Yes. So how can you say that there is non-existence is the truth of the universe? Even in order to say that, that recognition is contingent upon an existent being, namely yourself. So therefore, the cognition of absence, known in Sanskritam as anupalabdhi. Upalabdhi, gain, anupalabdhi, not finding that somewhere. So the cognition of absence is relative in the sense that it always is centered on the object that is absent and the place from which it is absent. Like there is no pot in the palm of my hand. There is no water in the pitcher. Like this. So this whole gamut of these 5 pramanas is all that there is. That's all we have in order to control. These are the tools of control. This is how I try to know things, and knowledge and information, they are nothing other than power. So this is how I know things, this is how I command the universe, this is how I control situations, events, people and things. Tell me which means of knowledge you are going to deploy in order to know yourself. Oh, I can see, I'll use my eyes. What do you see when you stand in front of the mirror? Myself. No, you see your body. That's it. The body is not what we are talking about as I. Body is I is not the body. I is much more than the body. Then, okay, maybe I will use inference. You can't infer that you exist. Because what comes first? Does existence come first or does inference come first? Yeah. So you can't turn it around. People have tried but failed. You can't turn it around. You can't say, I infer that I exist. Because you exist, you can infer. Okay? So therefore, your existence is not a basis for inference. Cannot be. There is a contradiction there. And same thing, we have made short shrift of inference, one step and multi-steps at one time itself. Then, what else do we have? Comparing. This one what? Even, you can be a Shakespeare and you can write a sonnet. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? That's fine for poetry. No problem. But then what are you going to compare the I? Atma is like ... What is it like? It's like this, it's like something. It cannot be like that thing, whatever thing you say. Why? Because it doesn't have form. The I that we are talking about, the indweller of the body-mind sense complex, the truth of this ahankara, the content of this knower-doer is free of form. So you can't see. It doesn't make a noise, so you cannot hear the Atma. Somebody came and said, in meditation I heard the Atma. I assured them that it was digestive juices readjusting themselves in the stomach. Kuru kuru kuru, gudu gudu gudu. Those are all noises that come. That is not Atma. It's just your breakfast, okay? Yeah. So you can't see, you can't hear, you cannot, it is not, it does not give off some kind of a fragrance that you can pick up the smell. You can't touch it because it doesn't have form, it doesn't have texture. You can't touch it, you can't taste it. Atma is very tasty. Well, if that were the case, all the Swamis would be out of work. Yeah. All you want to do, if you want to know the Atma, is go to the restaurant, that's it. But that's not how it is. No taste, nothing. So that takes care of the pratyaksha pramana, the 5 sense organs, no use in knowing the I. Then, anumana gone. No, you cannot infer, you cannot compare, you cannot see, hear, touch. Aha, maybe it is absent. Can it be absent? No, as I said, your own presence cancels out any absence of yourself. The cognizer of the absence has to be present. So the cognizer of absence cannot unequivocally say, I am absent. Just like you cannot say, I am asleep and be telling the truth. You can't say that. Just like you cannot say, I am not hiding behind the door. If you say that, you are drawing attention to your presence. So now, how are you going to control anything? All the tools of control cannot help you here at all. So much so for DIY self-knowledge. Not possible. Not at all possible. You cannot control. You cannot control anything, especially the how to understand this. So therefore, you need a special means of knowledge. A means of knowledge that comes from outside, so to speak. Outside in the sense of you are not in control of it. That is what is Guru, Vedanta, etc. That is what is Guru. The one who is an embodiment of the means of knowledge that you cannot control. That's why it brings up issues. That's why it brings up fear. That's why it brings up some kind of uncertainty. But that is exactly what has to be dropped. And those uncertainties have to be dropped in order to take that next step. What is the next step? Mahapurusha samshraya. Taking refuge in a teacher. Refuge does not mean you say to the, you think that the teacher is a savior. That's not what the refuge is. Refuge means I know I have run out of options in order to know the Atma, the I. Refuge means it's an acknowledgement and an acceptance of the fact that the tools that I have are of no use here. Just like you cannot buy a home, you cannot put a down payment for a house with a dream winnings of a lottery ticket. Which lottery ticket? Dream lottery ticket. So you dreamt that you had a big winning in the lottery, you collected the check also in the dream, and then upon waking, you go to the real estate agent and say, show me this big house. And what will the real estate agent say? Show me the money. Well, it is in my dream. That's why it's called dream home, okay? Yeah. So it is in my dream. So what kind of a dream is that? So there is a problem here. So just like the dream lottery ticket cannot buy you, the dream fortune cannot buy you a home in the waking state, similarly, all the means of knowledge that you handle cannot give you the basic knowledge of this I as free of control, as free of sorrow, as free of fear. Same way. That's why one needs help. And this is something one would rather die than say, I need help. Especially in the West. Because one is brought up to be independent. And not acknowledging that one needs help is a sign of strength. But that's all in the past of whatever we have discussed before. Because in the East, acknowledging that one needs help is a sign of strength. Accepting this help is a sign of strength because I'm secure enough to say that I'm not all-knowing. I'm secure enough to admit that this is something that has totally flummoxed me. I need help. Very badly, I need help. I need help just now. This is what it takes. And this is exactly what is called mahapurusha samshraya. And then the journey, a very different kind of a journey. The journey which is not on the beaten path of, what should I say, malls, movies, balls, those kinds of small ways in which those are all, what should I say, small attempts at moksha. I want moksha from pain, sorrow, therefore I'm going to binge watch a few movies. And then 8 hours later, one is even more depressed than when one started. Why is one more depressed? Because one says, why did I do this? That's an additional hangover. What is wrong with me? Why am I doing this? And so, this is, the kind of moksha that we have learned to seek with our tools of control, means of knowing, means of affecting the world, are all these forms of moksha are all finite, because the pursuit is centered on objects which are by definition finite. Everything is finite. Whatever you pursue is finite. If you want to know what is finite, just look at all the things that you are pursuing. Karma, action, through action, whatever you are pursuing. Dhanam, wealth, even more, very finite. We know this. Money has to be protected from itself. That's why we have something called inflation. Progeny, finite. Money, finite. Fame, finite. Following, finite. One can gloat that, oh, I have 1 million followers. Where? On Twitter. Where is Twitter? Somewhere in the net. And nobody, it doesn't even have a place, but then it is there. And then what? One wrong post. And then one gets a warning. And then after that, a couple of more wrong posts. One gets booted out of that social media. What happened to the garva, the pride of having 1 million followers? Gone. Finite. Everything that you pursue is finite. Finite, 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 finite. And so, whatever you cannot pursue as an object is yourself the infinite. The method for that is very, very clear. In the Shastra, it is said that you cannot do this on your own. You need a new pair of eyes to know the subject. And the Upanishad is that pair of eyes. And after going and pursuing the finite for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime possibly, then what happens? One has difficulty how to pursue the infinite. Therefore, the Guru is a pair of glasses that sits comfortably and magnifies the words of the Shastra to make it visible, to make it relevant, to make it timelessly pertinent to whoever is seeking at any given place in time. This is why one needs teacher. The centrality of the teacher cannot be emphasized further. And the more one recognizes that, the more the teacher ceases to be an individual personality. And one, in fact, just looks at the teacher as a means of knowledge, as a source of the teaching. You see the person in the teacher, not the personality. And when the teacher becomes a source of knowledge, then the knowledge starts to flow. So mahapurusha samshraya means it includes not only finding the teacher, but also having the right attitude towards the teaching and the knowledge. What is the right attitude? Again, we have a Sanskrit word here called Shraddha. Shraddha, an attitude of reverence and devotion, because one has a great desire to know the self, and therefore one is reverential and devotional to that source of the knowledge. And samshraya means such a person becomes a refuge for the seeker. And then what is the correct kind of guru? The one who doesn't need you to surrender. That is the hallmark. One who doesn't say, you need to surrender to me. That is the one. And therefore in every tradition, you see the student seeking the teacher, not the other way around. I want the teacher to choose me. This is not a high school prom, okay? You have to choose. You have to choose. And so, mahapurusha samshraya means seeking the teacher for the sake of knowledge and giving the benefit of doubt to the teacher so that I am able to bypass, if not bypass, at least for the time being, suspend my own notions and listen to what is being said. Somebody asked me one time recently, what do you do? And I told them as best as I could, this is what I do. And then the next question is, oh, so you're going to teach a retreat? Yes. So, what do they do in class number 1? I said, meditate. What do they do in class number 2? Listen. What do they do in class number 3, which we are on right now? Listen. What do they do in class number 4? Listen. What do they do in class number 5? They can ask questions. And, And then the person was kind of flummoxed. Said, no, why can't there be discussion groups? Why can't there be, why can't there be some kind of a participatory thing? Why is it all top down? Well, I don't think it's top down because I don't fancy myself at the top. So there is no top, there is no down. This is what I said. But this kind of a feeling comes from notions. And what are those notions? The notion is that this self that we are trying to understand, embrace, discover, can be got hold of through discussion groups. Discussion groups means like 5 people, what is that, who cannot see, trying to describe, what did they describe? Elephant, yes, yeah, elephant. So the 5 people described an elephant. 2 of them, 2 of them who were near the legs thought, oh, it's like a big tree. And then 2 of them near the, one of them was near the ears. No, it's like a big fan that produces air, that moves the air. Then one of them was the trunk. No, it's like a snake. And the last one was near the tail. No, it's like a switch, a whip. So all of this is wrong. The discussion group would just churn out the same things that we are running away from. The same iterations of the I that one is running away from. I am sad, I am mad, I am this, I know, I don't know, I wish I had done this, I wish I had not done this. This is the same thing. And the discussion group will just keep on churning the same thing out. And one is festering in this and then feeling good temporarily, because again the ego is assuaged into thinking that one has talked and one has contributed and one has participated. But that's no different than going to the movies. Same thing. For 1 hour you are entertained, or maybe it's 2 hours long, you are entertained. That's about it. And so therefore, the listening with all the notions suspended. That's why the last class, the questions are entertained, because there will be so many questions during the course of the day, and this is the time to get those questions clarified. So this is not about top-down or non-participatory. In fact, listening requires focus, listening requires participation. So, listening requires the alertness and the presence. And so all that, it's not that you're not participating, you're participating. But it is a knowledge that happens not because of you, but in spite of you, we can say. Yeah. In spite of these notions, in spite of wrong ideas, in spite of all these things, still the knowledge takes place, is a wonder. Ascharyavat pashyati kashchidenam, says the Bhagavad Gita. In wonder, certain people look at this knowledge. Ascharyavat vadati kechid anyaha. Some people talk about this, teach about this, and when the teacher teaches, the teacher is in wonder. When the student studies and learns, listens, the student is also in wonder. And the greatest wonder of all, says the Bhagavad Gita, is that despite teaching, one doesn't know. This is the greatest wonder. How is this possible? Shrutva api na veda kaschit. Even after knowing, one does not, even after listening, one does not know. That is perhaps the greatest wonder of all. So the self is the best kept secret. Best kept secret. Why? It is hidden right where the I advertises itself. And that I, which has gone to identify with everything finite and everything small, has to be walked over to that all-knowing, all-pervasive, all-existent Ishvara self. That is the journey. And the one who takes this ahankara for a walk is Guru. That's what it is. And so therefore, mahapurusha samshraya means taking refuge, taking recourse to the teaching with the teacher, and because of which the knowledge takes place. So therefore, if you are here, that means all the three conditions have already been fulfilled. This is wonderful. Are you a human being? Yes. It took a little while, but the answer came. Have you made the U-turn? Say yes, a resounding yes. Why so much self-doubt? Have you made the U-turn? Yes, fantastic. And this is a place of teaching, teachers. So you have found this place, you have found the teachers. So this is definitely all that has to, definitely the knowledge will take place without a shadow of doubt. And so, with this introduction, we will we'll get our toes wet into the work called JivanMukti Viveka. A little background I would like to share about the author and the time in which this work has been written. Svatmavidyananda, he is known as another iteration of Adi Shankara, a second Adi Shankara. People revere him greatly, very much. And it is not known when he was born exactly. The annals of the Sringeri Mutt, Sringeri is a place of learning in South India, headed by Shankaracharya, the disciples of the original Adi Shankara. And so he was the pontiff of this particular place of learning. So according to its calendar, Svatmavidyananda was born in 1295. Historians place it a little later. And he lived till the ripe old age of 90 years. 90 years. And unlike some people who live for a long time but are a burden on Mother Earth, his was a life that was just so useful from so many angles. He was very brilliant. They say that he also had a brother. His name was Madhavacharya before his initiation into sannyasa. And he had a brother, they say, called Sayana. And in some other works, not much is known because he did not advertise himself. He was, exactly like the teacher described in the Viveka Chudamani, who just does things like the spring, fills up the air with fragrance, the blossoms. He was like that. So sometimes they say the Sayana and Madhava are one, according to certain historians, and according to certain others they are two. For us it makes no difference. He was a prolific writer. We will be discussing some of the things he has written, at least the titles of them, including this one. And he was, as though that is not enough, he was also a statesman. He helped this center, this kingdom, which became a center for Hindu Renaissance at a time where everything was being colonized by the Muslim kings coming from the shores, from the north. And so he was the minister, Amatya, minister to 3 kings in that lineage, because he was so long-lived. So he was the minister to the founder, Harihara, and the minister to his son, Bukkaraya, and the minister to the grandson, Harihara II. Span of 3 kings he served. And in fact, he crafted all the policies and everything. The kingdoms thrived because he was like, even though they were the kings were on the face of it, he was very much there in the back. He was leading from behind. So when we have these stone scriptures, inscriptions, Madhava is written there. Amatya Madhava. The Amatya means minister. The minister Madhava's suggestions, this was built, this was made, we have stone inscriptions. So that makes it clear that all this he did before his renunciation, even though some people say that after he became a sannyasi, he was a statesman. I don't think so. I think it was before. Then he renounced, he accepted renunciation at a senior age, and then was offered the pontificate to be the pontiff of the Sringeri Mutt, and that's when he had also written a couple of things we'll talk about later, earlier, but then he wrote so many things, including a biography of Adi Shankara's life. Madhaviya Digvijaya, Shankara Digvijaya. So, very beautiful. And his whole idea was to make things simply put for all the lay people. He wanted to bring lay people into the knowledge of Advaita Vedanta. Great scholar, studied under one Bharati Tirtha, also another pontiff of the Sringeri Mutt. And not the current one, whose name is also Bharati Tirtha, but previous one. And his whole idea was to make it accessible to the people. Of course, when we read it, it's not that accessible. So you can imagine how inaccessible the other things might have been. So when we read it, we still need a lot of, we need to take the help of commentaries and everything to understand what he's saying. But he is blessed with a great clarity which comes across here, and a mind that is just so brilliant. He just completely comes through. And he's one of the rare authors that can touch the mind and the heart at the same time. Very, very beautiful. Something wonderful to look forward to. We'll be taking the text up tomorrow. And I don't want you to have anxiety. Are we going to complete it? Study is never complete. How much are we going to finish? And only one page has been done. Already 2 classes. We haven't entered the text. Just let go of that, This is not something to get to. Wherever you go, there you are. All right? Yeah. Wherever you go, there you are. That's all. You repeat that to yourself, and then how much ever we finish will be just right and just enough and perfect. And so 4:45 we have another class, and that is the eulogy of Adi Shankara by his student Totaka. Totaka is not a name, it's the meter in which it is written. So why he is called Totaka, etc., we'll see in the evening. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you.